This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. Presidential candidates usually get a positive bounce in the polls after their nominating conventions, and first indications are that Michael Dukakis's bounce is going to be a very big one. In a poll conducted just after the convention and released tonight, Newsweek magazine shows Dukakis now leading George Bush 55 to 38%, a spread of 17 percentage points. On the key issues of which candidate is the more forceful and decisive, voters favored Dukakis by more than 2 to 1. Dukakis's greatest strength now appears to be among black voters, who favor him over George Bush by 8 to 1. Some of this could be seen on the campaign trail in California today, and Bruce Morton has the story.
Dukakis-Benson rallies have a Democratic new look. Flags, patriotic songs, and one thing more, big crowds. The stop in Modesto in California's San Joaquin Valley was no accident.
This was a trip I wanted very much to make right after Atlanta. To come out here, to be with you, to be in a valley which is America, because you are America, all of you.
The valley is a dazzle of ethnicities. Dukakis got gifts from Greeks, Armenians, Hmong immigrants from Laos, and many more. And politically, it's full of Democrats who voted for Ronald Reagan. Democrats Dukakis wants back, needs back if he's to take California.
The only way we can win it is to take the swing area. The swing area is this area, Central San Joaquin Valley of California. We think we can do it.
So the candidate's speech never used the word liberal.
We believe in those progressive values. Those progressive values unite us, not just as Democrats, but as Americans.
And Dukakis sharply attacked the Reagan administration for being bad conservatives in running up the national debt.
And our kids and our grandkids will be paying for these deficits and this debt for years to come. More debt in 8 years than in all of the previous 200 years in the history of this country. That's conservative, that's responsible.
One thing more. This was a very large crowd compared to those Dukakis drew during the primaries, and it was very enthusiastic, really up. Just look. This has been a picture-perfect first swing, targeted at key states, cheering happy crowds, and a candidate famous as a dull speaker who's come out smoking. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Modesto.
If Dukakis is smoking, Republicans are steaming about the way Democrats have been poking fun of their man. But today in Memphis, George Bush said he would not respond in kind. Jacqueline Adams now with that part of the story.
The Mississippi River is 20 feet below normal, but slowly it is rising, the same way George Bush thinks his presidential campaign will, now that the post-game analysis of the Democratic convention is beginning.
I give him credit for the apparent unity at the end of the Democratic convention. But ours is going to be genuine unity. It's not going to be a veneer.
Jesse Jackson's prominence, Dukakis's philosophical differences with his running mate, and the Democratic team's inexperience in foreign policy. The vice president is trying to exploit them all.
Priority one is the national security of this country and what I do about enhancing the peace and building on it.
But Bush says he's going to avoid personal attacks like those the Democrats leveled against him.
I'm not going to respond to Ted Kennedy, of all people.
Jimmy Carter said you appeared silly.
Jimmy Carter said that?
Last night in New Jersey, though, Bush heard reverberations from Atlanta.
Where was George? Where was George?
Experts think it's only the beginning.
But it may be one of the more negative campaigns we've seen. Simple politics may demand that.
Bush's allies are already fighting back.
Why should the people of America take a risk? Why risk the economy? Why risk foreign policy when we've made so much progress with the Soviets?
Bush claims he'll stick to the high road, especially now that he's begun to focus on picking a running mate and keeping it quiet until next month's New Orleans convention.
I will not leak it, my decision, to anybody, but if I talk in my sleep, my wife finds out about it, I'm in for serious trouble.
Soon, Bush campaign officials plan to run financial background checks on a long list of candidates, and they're also gearing up to conduct polls on likely VP choices. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, Memphis.
Although the first polling, as we reported a bit ago, suggests that Democrats have come out of Atlanta unified, unity among disparate political factions is always tenuous. Bill Plant found an example this week of just how tenuous the current peace is among Virginia Democrats.
We said early on in our
Monday of convention week, Jesse Jackson and Michael Dukakis have met, settled their differences, and called for unity. Jackson's 37 delegates from Virginia, who came here demanding to be heard on the issues, are now waiting for the platform debate.
We're going to bring issues to the floor tomorrow night, and it's not divisive because we're basically following the rules of the party.
Tuesday morning, as the Virginia Jackson delegates caucus, they learn the shape of the deal. Debate on 3 minority issues: no first use of nuclear weapons, taxes, and Palestinian rights. But a vote only on the first 2. The Jackson delegates are not happy.
I don't see a bit of difference in Reaganism and Dukakism.
They pass a motion urging Jackson to change his mind and demand a vote on the Palestinian question.
We have the right to urge the campaign during the course of this day to reconsider that decision.
But on the convention floor Tuesday night, it doesn't happen. There is no vote on Palestinian rights, and the author of the motion to reconsider is downcast.
Consider a major, major disappointment.
The campaign, of course, is going to call it a compromise.
Well, it's obviously compromised that we didn't win.
I think we've been had.
That was the low point for these committed delegates, just before they heard Jesse Jackson speak.
Common ground. That's the challenge of our party tonight.
Wednesday, nomination day, and spirits are up a little. The Jackson forces have scored a small victory by now picking up 5 additional votes for their man, including that of the state party chairman.
It was a symbolic gesture to recognize the unity effort that Reverend Jackson made.
The result, Virginia is one of only 3 states to divide its vote evenly between Jackson and Dukakis.
42 votes for Michael Dukakis. 42 votes for the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
On Thursday, the night of triumphant speeches and hoopla, many of the Jackson delegates give their floor passes to Dukakis supporters and head for the upper reaches of the hall. Many think it's too soon to tell just how this is going to work.
I can't make up my mind as to how active I can be until really I've had a chance to see what the Dukakis campaign is willing to do to include us in the process.
So the jury's still out as these Jackson delegates leave Atlanta, not at all convinced that half a loaf is better than none. Bill Plant, CBS News, Atlanta.
President Reagan used his weekly radio address today to make his first comments about the Democratic convention. He said the Democrats had put on political trench coats and dark glasses to deceive Americans about the state of the country, and that to hear the Democrats tell it, it was now midnight in America. In just a moment, former President Gerald Ford will be with us to give his view of the fall campaign, and later on the CBS Evening News, drought-plagued Midwesterners are singing in the rain.
Showers of blessings we see.
If you heard the report on 59 cold cereals by a leading consumer magazine, you'd fall through the floor.
Mine's high in calcium.
And salt.
Salt?
High in fiber.
And sugar.
Sugar?
Lots of protein.
And added fat.
Fat?
Nabisco shredded wheat was rated tops in nutrition. For no added sugar or salt, low fat, plenty of fiber and protein. Nabisco shredded wheat. Nobody else.
Nabisco.
A legend has been created. A better battery for the future. Better with more reserve power. Better with a warranty that lasts over 6 years. Better with a special $10 rebate available right now. The legend from Napa. A better battery.
Now, a revolution in blade shaving from Remington. The new Remington Electro Blade. With vibrating blades for a close, smooth, comfortable shave. Safe, immersible, and cordless. The new Remington Electro Blade vibrating blade system.
With the Democratic convention now done and the Republican convention just about 3 weeks away, it seemed a good time to ask former President Gerald Ford to join us from his vacation home in Vail, Colorado, to talk some politics. Welcome, Mr. President. Well, it appears, Mr. President, that the Democrats are going for the centrist vote, the swing vote, putting Benson on the ticket and all that, the rhetoric at the convention. What are the Republicans going to do about it?
Well, first, Bob, let me congratulate the Democrats for putting on a good show. I thought Jesse Jackson's speech was terrific until he got off in the area of foreign policy, where he exposed some of his rather radical views. Governor Dukakis, his speech was exceptional, but he was really papering over the differences that are fundamental between himself, Jesse Jackson, and Lloyd Bentsen. Now, the Democrats had a great show of unity, but what worries me, or would worry me as a voter, is how that unity, Bob, is going to hold up if and when Governor Dukakis is elected president. And those party political differences on national defense, on foreign policy between Bentsen, Jackson, and himself could be very harmful to our national interests.
Now, let me ask you, Mr. President, who do you think that George Bush ought to put on the ticket as his running mate? He says he's not going to announce it to the convention, but if he had a suggestion, what would you think he'd need to do?
Well, he has a number of very excellent possibilities, Bob. Of course, Bob Dole would be a good candidate. Jack Kemp could be a good candidate. He has some excellent choices if he wants to select a female. I think a good long shot candidate would be Senator Alan Simpson of Wyoming, who's got a lot of charisma, who's got a good sense of humor, who has good relations with the press. So George Bush has good options, and I think we can balance our ticket without having those fundamental differences that the Democrats have when you have Dukakis, Bentsen, and Jackson.
If I take what you're saying, Mr. President, it is that the Republican strategy this fall is going to be to try to exploit the differences between the men on the ticket and Jesse Jackson. I heard that at the convention. I hear you saying it.
Well, there's no question those differences do exist. For example, on Central America, Governor Dukakis is against aid for the freedom fighters, and I think Jesse Jackson is too. Lloyd Bentsen has voted for military and economic assistance for the freedom fighters. Or you can take some of the weapon systems. Governor Dukakis is against some of our strategic weapons, and Senator Bentsen in the Senate has voted for the funding of those several very, very important weapon systems. And I think Jesse Jackson agrees with Governor Dukakis on trying to cut down and significantly cut back our strategic forces. So those very important foreign policy and military policy differences between Dukakis, Jackson, and Bentsen are legitimate areas for this campaign between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Mr. President, as we say back home, I'd better let you get out of the rain. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Bob. It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you soon. We'll be back.
For Post Natural Bran Flakes Rue McClanahan on getting the best out of life.
Because last night I was so bad. I'm making sure I have a good morning.
Reach for the best tasting high fiber bran flake. Post Bran Flakes at their best.
New Supercol Mint kills plaque germs. But how does it taste? Supercol Mint fights plaque buildup.
But how does it taste?
Plaque fighting, Supercol Mint.
But how does it taste?
Tastes great.
Like my mouth took a shower.
Refreshing.
A mint that lasts.
The best tasting way we know to fight plaque.
What's the best kind of fruit? The kind that's fresh, moist, and plump. That's why Sunsweet are my favorite kind of pitted prunes. Moist, plump, and fresh. Sunsweet, because the best prunes are fresh prunes.
If people think that there's nobody at AT&T that's going to fight for them, then they haven't talked to us. Because they would know better. There's 300 people in my branch alone that are out to see that the small business customer succeeds. In our center, they are the only customers. They're not small business. And in fact, a sale in our branch is a very big customer with a big sale. We want to make it work. So if you haven't spoken to someone from AT&T, you need to do that.
Iraq claimed late today that it has begun withdrawing its troops from occupied territory in Iran, but despite all the talk about a possible ceasefire, it's been another day of war. Anthony Mason reports.
Iraqi troops continued their major offensive across a broad front along the border, pushing into Iranian territory. Iraqi television today showed thousands of captured Iranians. Some appeared relieved and without any apparent prompting chanted death to Khomeini. According to an Iraqi communique, Iraq's new offensive is a precautionary measure.
I think Iraq, after having been on the losing side for 6 years, is probably trying to get it back as much territory as it can, as well as make a statement. We are the up-and-coming Arab force in the Middle East.
In Tehran, the Iranian government tried to rekindle revolutionary fervor by calling up new recruits. Tehran radio interrupted regular programming to urge all able-bodied men to the front. The call to arms puts more pressure on the Secretary General, who will meet with foreign ministers of both countries in New York next week. For a ceasefire to succeed, he must offer each a way to save face.
Whether the Iranian government come out of this claiming somehow that this is a vindication of the stand they've been taking for the last 8 years, and whether the Iraqi government can come out of it saying that this has somehow vindicated Saddam Hussein's decision to go to war.
President Hussein and his generals now claim to have recaptured all Iraqi territory lost during the war, much of it barren sand dune littered with abandoned Iranian tanks. To see why Iran suddenly asked for a ceasefire, you need only look at the parking lot of captured armor and artillery the Iraqis have set up in the desert. Iran can send as many men as it wants to the front, but it's run out of the ammunition with which to arm them. Anthony Mason, CBS News, London.
The annual pilgrimage of Muslims to Mecca reached its climax today. It's estimated that up to 1.5 million people prayed at Mount Arafat. They heard appeals for a return to traditional Islamic values and unity among the world's Muslims. On another front, Pakistan charged today that the Soviet Union has halted its troop withdrawal from Afghanistan and is even sending troops back in. The Soviets call the charge a sheer lie. President Reagan's been taking it easy at his ranch this week while the Democrats were at center stage, but today, White House officials broke the calm to announce a little good news. Several major world trouble spots are looking less troublesome these days. Terrence Smith reports.
As President Reagan relaxed today at his mountaintop ranch, the reports of turmoil abroad were counterbalanced by signs of measurable progress towards peace in several of the world's chronic trouble spots. In the Persian Gulf, despite today's fighting, Iran and Iraq appear to be ready to end the longest, bloodiest conflict since World War II. In Afghanistan, the White House repeated today that despite Pakistani claims to the contrary, it expects the Soviets to make good on their promise to withdraw their forces. In Cambodia, Vietnam has agreed to speed up the pullout of its troops. In Korea, the communist government in the north this week invited the South to begin talks on a non-aggression pact. And in southern Africa, a U.S.-sponsored agreement could lead to the withdrawal of Cuban troops from Angola and independence for Namibia. The administration is taking credit for that development.
The next president will inherit an American-sponsored diplomatic framework which offers the best, indeed, in my judgment, the only hope for progress in southern Africa.
Specialists on the region stress that the agreement still has to be implemented.
I think that this is a benchmark, but I certainly wouldn't pop the cork in the bottle of champagne and say we have a peace at hand in southwestern Africa yet.
Two stubborn exceptions to the upbeat foreign policy news for President Reagan are Central America and the Middle East.
The Arab-Israeli dispute and the menace of state-sponsored terrorism remain. Americans and others are still cruelly being held hostage.
The president intends to press in his remaining months in office for the release of the hostages, but that problem remains as frustrating as ever. In the other areas, White House officials think they can make substantial progress before turning the problems over to the next administration. Terrence Smith, CBS News, with the president in Santa Barbara.
If the guys who made women's insoles had to wear women's shoes, they'd make a very different insole. Look who has. New odor eaters for women. The first insole designed for a woman's shoe to cushion without crowding. Ordinary insoles are shaped like men's shoes, but odor eaters for women are tapered at the toe so they can't crowd, and shaped and contoured to cushion where your foot needs it most. There's no tightness, and shoes stay fresh and odor-free. New odor eaters for women. Cushions without crowding.
It's Lobster Fest time at Red Lobster. We know what you love the most. At our Lobster Fest, we do lobster best. No one else even comes close.
From $8.95, kids just 99 cents.
Have a tempting lobster trio, Mornay, if you're in the mood. La, la, la. Our tails are the best at our Lobster Fest. We know how you love seafood.
Now get a half pound of snow crab legs for just $3.95 with any entree.
There was an emotional reunion in South Africa today. Black nationalist leader Nelson Mandela, who's serving life in prison, got a visit from his wife and family. Martha Teichner reports.
Winnie Mandela delivered a belated birthday greeting to her husband Nelson Mandela today, having turned down the South African government's offer of a special 6-hour prison visit Monday, after most public celebrations of Mandela's 70th birthday were banned.
He could not allow himself to have that sort of gift from the government if his people were not allowed to give him that same gift.
For Winnie Mandela, marriage has meant a lifetime of these 40-minute prison visits. She herself has said she married a movement, not a man. She was young and full of dreams in 1958 when she married Nelson Mandela, already a key figure in the anti-apartheid struggle. They had less than 4 years together. Mandela was arrested in 1962. Convicted of sabotage, he was sentenced to life in prison. Winnie's days of innocence were over.
We expect that the work will go on.
For her, it was only beginning. She became the mother of the movement, comforting other mothers whose sons had died for their part in violence against South Africa's apartheid government. As her jailed husband's stand-in, she became a public figure at the expense of her private life. But for Winnie Mandela, being a prison widow had other hardships. A house she lived in was firebombed and ransacked. She had been forced to live there, 400 miles from her home in Soweto, as part of a government banning order. When she tried to go back to Soweto, she was arrested. Winnie Mandela has faced almost constant harassment, a high price to pay for 30 years of marriage to a man she admits she hardly knows.
We never had that amount of time where I could sit down one day at the end of my life and say, I know him as a man, and he is such and such a person.
But on Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday, Winnie laughed and danced and said she would marry him all over again if history would allow it. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Johannesburg.
You asleep?
No.
Thinking about the house?
Yes.
Sure we can afford it?
No.
Uptight?
Yes.
Buying a home can make you a little uneasy when you don't know what to expect. But if you get the new Best Buyer Guidebook from Coldwell Banker, we'll take you through every step, from finding a home to financing it. So don't get left in the dark.
Is it going to be okay?
Call Coldwell Banker and expect the best. A member of the Sears Financial Network.
Well, there I was, mid-conversation, and bang. The whole phone system suddenly goes crazy. So the whole company's stuck without a phone. Totally incommunicado. Well, I've worked too long and too hard to let that happen.
This reminds me of Yule Gibbons.
Didn't he used to pitch in St. Louis?
No. He's the one who said grape nut cereal tastes like wild hickory nuts.
Well, these little things are better. No messy shells.
Post Grape Nut Cereal, the one and only.
It's out there again, waiting. Allergy season. But allergies don't have to be a big problem. Not with fast-acting Benadryl, the most prescribed allergy medication ever.
Midwest got some temporary relief from the drought this week, but the area still needs a lot more rain. And in one Ohio city, there is a big dispute over whether to pray for it or pay for it. Gary Reeves reports.
The huge storm that drenched the Midwest this week poured 4 inches of rain on southern Ohio. Even with this rain, the area is still 8 inches behind. And in Wilmington, there is controversy over how to make it rain again.
There will be showers of blessing.
On one side, there are the people who believe in prayer. More than 100 of them met on the steps of the Clinton County Courthouse.
I believe that the Lord sends rain. That's how it is.
Unwilling to wait on the heavens, others have turned to science, cloud seeding to be specific.
We're doing something, and to do something, even if it's wrong, makes you feel better than to sit here and not do anything.
As you've heard about Project Rain, it's already got underway.
Wilmington's farm radio station started the project, raising $80 of the $125,000 needed for 3 months of cloud seeding.
Well, I think at this point, people are looking for anything that may help.
Cloud seeding is an uncertain science that uses radar to guide planes that shoot silver iodide into the clouds. The California company that's doing it predicts at best a 20% increase in rain, but there are no guarantees.
We can enhance nature's mechanism for producing precipitation many, many times.
Farm-dependent businessmen were eager to help their desperate clients. Implement dealer John Mayer contributed $4,000.
I relate it to like buying a lottery ticket. You never know what can happen.
But there are plenty of skeptics. Farmer Ken Pickard's soybeans are wilted and his stunted corn is being eaten by bugs. But he still won't put his faith in cloud seeding.
I think I'm going to save my money and buy water by the truckload.
And the religious community views it almost as harshly as it does gambling. Not quite a sin, but close.
And a lot of money could be saved if all of us would just join together once again and say, God, we're going to seed the clouds with prayer and faith and repentance.
The public prayers and the cloud seeding started the same day as the storm. But most farmers don't care who gets the credit, as long as the rain keeps falling. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Wilmington, Ohio.
That's the news. Susan Spencer will be here tomorrow. Later tonight on West 57th, a report on how trauma care can save your life and why most hospitals don't provide it. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York. Good night.
What'll it be?
Nothing, honey.
Just stop by to see me, huh, sugar?
Kellogg's Nut and Honey Crunch.
This tastes good.
It's nut and honey.
Well, still good.
Kellogg's Nut and Honey Crunch.
Delicious cereal, Jensen. What is it?
Nut and honey.
You love the honey, you love the nuts.
When you've got the taste of nuts and honey all wrapped up in a hearty crunch, what more can you say?
Hey, Cookie, what's for breakfast?
Nut and honey.
Kellogg's Nut and Honey Crunch.
Whirlpool and I spent years becoming laundry experts, but now they make it easy for everybody.
With so many choices of cycles and temperatures for most any fabric,
Even Grandpa might do a good job on the laundry. Now.
Now for indigestion, gas, introduce a new extra strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new extra strength Malox Plus.
This is CBS. The idea that one dog food is best for every dog is silly. Puppies, for instance, need calcium for growing bones, so there's Cycle Puppy. Older dogs need the easily digestible protein in Cycle Senior. Overweight dogs need satisfying meals with fewer calories, Cycle Light. While healthy adult dogs need the balanced nutrition of Cycle Adult. Cycle, because no one dog food is right for every dog.
On our next Capital Edition, picture this.